Jarryd, Roughead, Jordan Lewis, you shared so many of these moments together. Great to have you both here.
G'day, boys.
Thank you.
It is a little bit of a trip down memory lane, I suppose, watching those games from yesteryears. But it also sparks up a memory of when you're kids and where you go. Unfortunately, we can't these days, but where you go to watch the grand final. I remember being in Bendigo one year when Essendon were in the grand final. I was at another house when Geelong West Coast were in the grand final. So the grand finals you're playing are certainly special, but as a kid, you remember these moments as well because it's the AFL grand final and it is just such a special day.
So let's pull at it a little bit with the occasion for the three of you as you lived it. When you got there for the first time, Ruff, what's most vivid for you?
I guess you're trying to take it all in initially because this is the first time that we've ever been able to experience something like this. We were lucky we had Stewie Jew, who had been a part of Port Adelaide and was trying to help us out that week in terms of what to prepare for, what to expect. But it is a bit of a blur because you're thinking, you know, we weren't expected to win. We've got to come up against arguably one of the best home and away sides all year. And then Clark, you walk into the wall and here's this big shark traced on the whiteboard. And it's like, where's this pre-game speech going to go? So that's what I remember early days about 2008.
Yeah, my only memory from that was in the lead-up and every moment I got, I just would look at Crawf and just see the enjoyment on his face, understanding he's had a long, distinguished career, and just watching him be in a position that he'd never been in. It was the only thing that was missing on his CV. And then you get to the ground and everything is different. I think we all can understand that. There's a grand final sprint, so you go out there and watch that to try and calm the nerves. Then you've got to take a photo as soon as you run through the banner, and then you've got the anthem, which it's just deafening silence. But then once that finishes, then the roar of the crowd, that awakens you in a way, and it's just such a unique experience. And it's not as it normally is. No, so you're legendary for your warm-ups, but that's not to be on grand final day.
That's the overwhelming emotion, I think, is the difference that you notice in grand final week. So I played in 3 losing prelims before 09 when we got across the line just against the Dogs, and then you're into your first grand final, and it takes on an entirely new meaning, like playing a game of footy, because there's nothing normal about what you've done. You train in front of 10, 15,000 people. Like players would run down the race at training, get a massive roar. So players started running back in. I forgot my mouth guard. I've got to go back in.
Probably
so
the first time you feel like a rock star.
Out. So guys did like 3. I think Milne did like 3 entrances onto the ground to keep getting the roar of the crowd. And the warm-up was a big one because I didn't know arriving to the ground. So like we were speaking about this at Marvel the other day. My warm-up was precise, like down to how many strides I did, the laps of the square, which hand I bounced the ball with first, like crazy, stupid stuff. But I couldn't do it grand final day, and I didn't know until I got there that I couldn't do it. So I was doing strides up and down the car park, and it's a different experience.
So have you been having conversations with Melbourne players who are curious?
Yeah. And I suppose that the hardest thing that you deal with as a player is everything around the game, from supporters to staff to family and friends. There's a lot of hysteria, which is the reason why it's such a great game and a big occasion. I suppose from a player point of view, you need to talk it down as much as you possibly can to not be emotionally drained before you actually get to the day. So understand that at the end of the day, the overarching thought is it's still a game of football. So whatever you think pre-game, how it's going to unfold, you just don't know. You can't plan for the unpredictability of a game. So settle the nerves, understand that you're not the only one dealing with those types of emotions, and just really set yourself on that first quarter. I mean, the first quarter is huge in any game, let alone a grand final.
So is that different? Is the 20 minutes at the start a completely different level of battle?
Yeah, you're tonguing it more than you could ever believe. And these midfielders get the ball pretty easily at the best of times. So forwards, you want to try and get a touch, just something, impact, whether it be force a contest, a tackle, even just a little handball, just to calm your nerves and make you feel like, right, I've got a touch in the grand final, I'm okay, I don't have a donut next to my name at half-time, which I've had before. So just to feel like you're a part of grand final day.
I think that all players want you want to impact the game early, don't you? Like we heard from Max Gawn before, he's visualising the coin toss, and then he's the ruckman, so he knows what his first contest looks like. He's going up, he's putting the knees into Steph Martin in the contest, so that's an advantage. But you're right, for forwards and for everyone else, you're sort of waiting for that moment to arrive. But we've seen how brutal the start of grand finals can be. Because that's everyone's intention. Everyone's intention is to come out and stamp themselves in the best possible way on the game as early as possible.
And you understand that they are the moments early in the games that everybody's watching. So however 3-4 million people that sit down and watch the game, they are concentrating on who is going to shirk the first contest or who is going to totally commit themselves to this grand final. And it sets the scene. And as a player, you feel that sense of occasion and the responsibility, I suppose, to impose yourself physically on the game in that first quarter, because someone will get a chance. Someone will get a chance to do that.
So in 08, that was Luke Hodge for you?
Yeah, so Hodgie went into this game under an injury cloud. He's never really admitted that he had broken ribs or sore ribs, but there was certainly talk around he was sore and you know, this vision from early in the game where he just lifts up his arm. That for me, if you're seeing that sets the tone, and then he goes back with the flight, gets crunched by Lonergan, gets up, doesn't make a fuss and just continues to play on. So these moments over multiple grand finals we've seen time and time again, and they do get replayed. I mean, if you're lucky enough to win, these get replayed for years to come. So some player will get that moment to do it on Saturday night.
So you had a moment early in 2009, and I'm not sure whether you've ever totally confessed to what it was and how significant the hit was.
Yeah, I mean, now if it happens in the modern game now, you're probably spending the rest of the game in a tracksuit, to be honest. Yeah. But it's a bit of a blur. But coming into this game, I mean, waking up and the conditions being what they were, you knew it wasn't going to be a day for. You knew it wasn't going to be a day for clean delivery, nice lead marks out in front. It was going to be a day where you had to fly for everything. So I sort of went in with that attitude and that mindset, and I guess that was sort of indicative of what occurred in that contest.
So how clear are your memories of the 2009 day, or are you in John Platten territory there where you don't remember?
They're blurry, a little bit blurry. Yeah. Lee Montagno actually called me this week and said, hey, you should actually go back and watch the 09 grand final. And I hadn't had the courage to watch it. So I watched the last 15 minutes on the weekend for the first time when we were running the Great Grand Finals package. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of that game is a bit of a blur, whether that's because of the result or, time or that incident or whatever. I don't really know. It's hard to know in retrospect. But what stood out was just how brutal a game it was. There was nothing uncontested in that game. It was a phenomenal game.
The targeting of a player. So this is a big part of the conversation that's happening at the moment. Max Gawn's braced for it if it's going to be him. There's the question, well, if you know they're going to do it, do you go and do it first?
Yeah, I even think from a Western Bulldogs point of view, because it's out there and people are talking about it, you don't necessarily have to do it now because you've already started to play those mind games. Now, I would only think they would target Max Gawn because Steph Martin is severely underdone and the aerobic capacity and the dominance of Max Gawn would be a serious concern for them. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Melbourne did it back to a star player from Western Bulldogs. I think that there's one thing knowing that it's coming to you, but if you know that, well, fight fire with fire. Let's go.
So you targeted Buddy in 2014?
Yeah. At times, I think. Yeah, knowing that and I think we've spoken about this year too. We didn't play well against him that first couple of times, and then this game, I think every time he took a mark, you noticed that the guys on the side of the mark. We tried to take away his natural arc, and this is a grand final, so you play. Your mates, yes, but for 2 hours you're not. And a week after this, we've got George's wedding, where we're all standing next to each other, and I remember the dinner we had the night before his wedding, and it was just like. It was all fine, but we understood that's what needed to happen, for that 2 hours.
I think what it does is these boys spoke about. You want something to impact for in arguably the first quarter. So if you do it and you do it in the right way and there's some balance around it, at least players might have a reference to go. I'm not getting into the contest. Maybe I just stand in front of Max Gawn. Maybe I just stand in front of Bontempelli. That just gives them a reference to be, hey, I'm involved in the game. But these are some of the hits. within the first quarter of grand finals, and they set the scene, they really do. I mean, you can't plan for this stuff. But at some point on Saturday night, players will find themselves in a position where you've got to make a decision. Do you fully commit, or do you step aside and let the other player go through with no contact?
100%.
And that'll be on show.
These things have to happen organically. I think if you actually set players up, like the Yates-Burton thing, if you set players up for that in the modern game, I think players are conditioned differently now. And you can actually have a detrimental effect by saying, hey, we're going to go out and target this. Well, that becomes almost your sole focus in a way, rather than focusing on the structure, the effort, the game plan stuff, but particularly the effort that's got you to this point anyway.
And then the stakes, the magnitude of what takes place, where the gap, the disparity between winning and losing is impacting lives, never mind football. So you clearly felt the quest to be the premiership captain, the first one since Darryl Borgadoc.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was interesting speaking to Max earlier about the similarity between him and Ron Barassi. And that was real. I mean, we had 60 players from the 66 premiership that were sick of being the poster boys for St Kilda actually speak to us during the year and in the lead up to that game saying it's your turn. We want you guys to be the poster boys. And I'd had conversations with Darryl Borgadoc through that period as well, and so I guess felt that sense of desire and responsibility. And it fuelled us, absolutely, as a group. It fuelled us in 9, and then the devastation of 9 fuelled us in 10. I mean, this is grown men crying because of everything you put into it. And, it is still confronting and brings up emotion to see those pictures now.
So did not winning in 10 break you?
It did. It broke us for a while as a group, and not in a conscious sit about and say, hey, it's not worth it anymore. But I think subconsciously, somewhere along the line, the devastation of 9 and then the devastation of 10, somewhere within us as a group, we thought it's too risky to put ourselves out there again and feel that hurt. And that's what coaches talk about. You've got to take the emotional risk to be great, knowing that you might not get there. And there's a breaking point for all people.
So you have your cycle where 12 feels 13, 14, 15?
Yeah, well, prelim 11 and then devastation in 12. And then I think any player in any organisation, they look for motivation at some point within the careers of coaches and players. So 2012, I mean, there's just something about sitting there and watching the opposition go up on that podium and collect the medals that sticks with you, and that's the motivation that's needed on grand final day, and you never want to be in that position, because it is, as Nick said, and we saw the pictures before, it's absolute heartbreak, because you put yourself out there, you feel vulnerable on the biggest stage, yet you feel like you've let so many people down, and unfortunately that'll be an emotion that some players feel this weekend. How real's that for you, Rough?
Yeah, you try and forget it. Now, we're very lucky that we were able to get revenge on Sydney, which, for me, kind of balances itself out, because we were able to play the team that knocked us off 2 years earlier, had taken arguably our best player, and then we were able to do what we did in 14. I think you're at peace with knowing that those two are okay.
Yep, the universe balanced. It's been great to share the year with the two of you. You have been our gurus of longest kick. You've chipped in late, Nick. So we have to bring this...
I told you it was coming.
So
I said last week it was going to be.
3 o'clock Saturday afternoon, all of your dignities go on the line. I've heard mixed reports, so I'm not quite sure how that's going to go.
Let's just say one of us shined, one of us tanked, one of us was pretty average.
Middle of the road.
Tanked. All right. So this is the KFC longest kick of the year. You should be able to go through your memory banks.
Yep.
I want results here. Right. You're first. Yep. Toby Green in Ballarat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This one?
This one. Plus 60.
Yeah, no, it was 64-6 if I'm right. I do remember this.
Oh,
yeah! Gotcha! Jazzy!
Nick. So Daniel...
Yeah, I remember this one too.
Than that.
It was 65-1.
Oh!
So
come on, pressure.
Come on, Ryan. Pressure's on. Green, the torpedo.
Oh, 67-9. Oh, Lewis!
Finish.
Nailed it.
KFC longest kick.